What is up, guys? TC here with Smoky Mountain Knife Works, SNKW.com, and behind me, this is Crucible Industries. So we made the trip up here to New York. We are showing you some behind-the-scenes information, trying to arm you with a little more knowledge of where your blade steel comes from. And this is it right here. We're going to give you a shot at that. Now, let's light it up. All right, guys, as you can see in this video, we are visiting Crucible Industries and Niagara Specialty Metals. And what we want to do, and the point of this video and the point of us traveling there, is to show you what goes into making this blade steel. Because we get a lot of questions, and our biggest questions revolve around why this steel is so expensive when it's put into knives. And there's a reason for that. I guess the best analogy, and I just came up with this in my head, people say all the time, you know, well, 440A or 440C works just fine, or, I know somebody who made a knife out of a car spring, leaf spring, and it cuts just fine. Yes, it absolutely does. A car from the 1940s or 1950s, as long as it's kept up, runs great, and it's a lot of fun, and it works great. But there are still things that technology has improved on, and that can make these blades very useful in harsh conditions, whether you're using your knife a lot and you need edge retention, or you want something that's easier to sharpen, or you want something that's more corrosion resistant.
Well, with the CPM stuff, you're getting something that's more structurally
sound. Absolutely, yeah. And so we're showing you this process, not just to show you how the steel's made, but also to give you an idea and a perspective of why it costs what it does, because it goes through a lot of hands. It goes through a very lengthy process. In addition to that, what you're not going to see in this video is the science behind it and how long this stuff took to develop. So let's get right into it and see how this steel's made.
So starting off, we are at Crucible in Syracuse, New York, and basically you're seeing the 60-acre plant that they have. So really this is us walking through all of these warehouses, and
because we came in the front and had to walk all the way to the back, basically. Now what you're seeing right here are ingots of steel that they start off with, and that they pour up and create. Now we will go through the process of how specifically their CPM steels are made, and again, not giving away any secrets because we can't. 1, 2, we didn't get to see the secret stuff because this stuff is proprietary and this stuff is very specialized. Each company that makes these powdered steels and this powder metallurgy,
there's just some M4,
has their own process. So
it was really interesting seeing all these big hunks of steel laying around. Here's their scrap metal.
At this point, what they do, this is how they put together the different formulas of steel. So that everything is weighted out, and they put their iron in first, and then they weight out based on how much that weight of iron that they've got in there. They measure out by weight how much of each individual element, whether it's molybdenum, vanadium, chromium, and they put those individual elements in with the iron, and then it all gets poured up into a melting vat.
Yeah, and right there it is to the right. You can see they take the materials, they put it in this, I don't know what you would call that, furnace thing, but
it's a vat. Here, so I want to pause it right here, and this is very important. So they do this numerous times throughout the process, and what they're doing right here is they're taking samples of all these elements that they've melted together. They're taking samples to have them tested, and they are tested immediately, and they do this numerous times throughout the process. and that is for quality control purposes, and also to make sure that each batch of steel that they're making is perfect, is free from any imperfections, because they're not just making this stuff for cutlery. They're making this for a lot of different industries, whether it's aerospace, whether it's big injection molded machinery. So it's very important, and the testing process is extensive to make sure that each batch that comes out is as perfect as they can get it. So, and they take little test tube vials of this steel. They send it to be tested. It is tested immediately, and they come back whether they need to make slight modifications.
This is a fun part right here.
Yeah.
This is what they're pouring into the spout that basically will end up spraying,
making the powder,
the particle metal. Yeah. So.
And that's part of the specialized process.
And here you can see those little sparks aren't really sparks. Those are the
That's the powder being made, yeah. So everything is combined and melted together, and then it's basically formed into a powder through a special process that they have. And then here you can see some of the powder, and it's really, really cool looking. So that's some of the powder that ends up getting sifted, if you will.
And that's before it's remelted back down into a big ingot block.
So this is the sifting process, and it goes through this process for a really long time. And this gets out any of the larger pieces, the imperfections. And then at that point, after it's sifted, the powder is taken to be hipped. And we've talked about that in previous videos, specifically in the S35VN video. We've talked about it. It's called hipping, or hot isostatic pressing. And essentially, the powder is then put into a high heat circumstance. It depends on the specific steel that they're making, is what denotes what temperature they put it at, and then pressed somewhere in the neighborhood, and we don't know exactly because that's part of their process, but somewhere in the neighborhood of 45,000 psi, somewhere like that. Intense pressures, intense heat, and then it is all pressed together. And what that does is it takes out any voids in the steel. And taking a powder, pressing it and heating it like that makes it a much more dense product and makes it a much stronger product. And that's what we were talking about earlier, is making it a much more structurally sound product. And that's part of the process of why this is so expensive. So now here they've taken it after hipping, and this is a bar. I don't remember exactly what this one was, but now they're forming it into a round slab of steel with this giant press. And this was really, really cool to get to see.
The scale of just everything here was massive.
Oh yeah,
and very.
It's huge, and you'll see here in just a second when this guy goes to Mike and measure. You can see just how big all this machinery is, and it's fascinating. And I'm here to tell you, that thing's glowing. You don't understand how hot that is.
That whole area it felt like 100
blazing
degrees or more. And that little process right there, from what I understand, with the flame on it, was just to kind of keep things dry from moisture gathering up, if you guys were wondering what that was about.
Now
I'm going to go back real quick to that shot. This is what everything looks like. You're about to see the process, but if we don't tell you what this is, it's not going to make any sense. But this is a casing that goes around. What were they calling these?
Well, that on the outside is the slag.
Well, the whole slab. What were they calling that cylinder thing? They had some kind of name for it. Anyways, that casing around it is just kind of what they use to shape and form it without messing up the actual inside integrity. But they have this machine
that will mill off that slag on the outside there, and makes pretty colors.
I thought that
that was really cool.
It shows you how hot that it actually gets from shaving the excess material off, and you can see it right there.
Shaves off all the outside imperfections there.
And right here, you can tell it's having a beautiful baby boy.
Yes, absolutely. We got to see
Let
the
me
inside.
rewind that
So,
right there.
what they're doing is ultrasonic testing. That's another part, and pause it just for a second there. That is another part of the testing process to make sure that that this steel is as perfect as they can get it. So, they go through and test it, and then when they ultrasonic test it here, that's another part of the process of making sure that there's no cracks, there's no voids within the steel that you can't see deep inside. Again, another hand that it touches, making sure that it is as perfect as it can be. And that's really important.
And from there, it just depends on what you're getting. You might get this cylinder, you might get a flat slab.
Right.
And these flat slabs, at Crucible, this is all we could get there. I know it's not a huge amount of footage. We got about 5 minutes of B-roll clips that we showed. We're about to head to Niagara in the next section, but going to Niagara, this is how Niagara receives it from Crucible, and Niagara Specialty Metals is the one that really is what does what we know from knives.
Yeah, and so Crucible then sends it to Niagara, who puts in the orders. Niagara does the finishing and shipping, basically, finishing and distribution.
And here you can see more of those slabs sitting outside. We asked them if they were worried about anybody ever stealing these, and they said if they can actually lift it up and get it in their truck and take it, then it was worth them having it.
And the cool thing is, when you see these slabs on their yard, they've got numbers on the end of them, and some of the numbers are what you'll recognize as M4 or 3V or
440A.
S35VN or D2.
Now here is where it all starts with Niagara. It doesn't start with this roller, but it starts in this room where
they'll typically cut off somewhere around a 200-pound block with these band saws here.
And the part that I found interesting is like right here. How many days or how much time did he say it takes to just cut through?
It takes a couple of days to cut through down one of these slabs.
And it's important because if they did it too fast, it would mess the heat treats up on it.
Yeah, and it would also mess up. It wouldn't cut straight.
You guys want to know why these knives are expensive? It takes a lot of, as you can see, we've not even got to the
Yeah, we're still at a slab here. Nothing's been heat treated. Nothing's been finished. Nothing's even been rolled out yet, and it's already taken weeks to get it to this point. And that's not even including the research and development going into the actual science and the chemical makeup of this steel. So it takes a couple of days to saw through to make sure that they've got a good solid slab and it's straight.
This whole room is dedicated to just cutting these slabs because they have to have them on an automation system because, you can't just pay somebody to sit there and watch it
cut for 24 hours a day. Yeah.
So this was their big machine that they had that they were proud of. And then once they get it cut, they put them in these ovens. And
like I said before, this is about a 200-pound slab somewhere in there.
Just that piece.
Yeah.
And then they'll take it, and then they spray it off, get all the gunk off of it.
Clean it up.
I was just more amazed at how fast they actually work.
Yeah, and that's part of the process too, is you have to work quickly at this point because if you lose the heat in the steel, then you lose the ability to form it the way you need to. So this is a process that's called hot rolling. Some of you might have heard of hot roll or cold roll steel. This is hot rolling with these press rollers here. And these guys are sending it back and forth through these rollers to flatten out these slabs into sheet. They're rolling it into sheet, which is what will eventually end up being distributed in various forms. Didn't he say there was a 6-man crew that usually runs this whole process?
Yeah, that's all that was there when we were there too.
Yeah.
So, also I've cut out a lot of things. This takes multiple passes.
It takes a lot of passes.
Don't get confused thinking it happened this quick. edited this a lot just to
'Cause
kind of help save.
We're not gonna make you sit here and watch them hot rolling this steel for 30 minutes or an hour. So eventually it comes out like this. Then they take it over to be formed. It will cool gradually.
This machine straightens it out.
Yep. Make sure that it's nice and flat. And here he's measuring it. As he goes down, he's hitting measure marks on it. And now they'll take it over to a nice press brake, which will break it off into certain length sheets that he just measured out. So the forklift takes it over. He hits those measure marks, and then you'll see it drop off the sheet of steel on the back side there. And those are specific size sheets that they're looking for. At that point, we're getting a little bit closer. Now, we're still not done with what they're doing with these. Then they take them over, and they have them run through again to make sure that they get the specific thickness of the sheets that they need. So when people order these sheets, they order them at a very specific thickness, whether it's so many down to the thousandths of an inch.
Just look how fast.
Oh yeah, and again, you have to work fast when you're dealing with something that's hot like this, because if you don't, you lose the heat, you lose the ability to form it correctly, and you could end up with a crack. They're keeping them in these furnaces to keep them hot. Then after they get
I remember we thought all this stuff was automated, and we found out they just kind of had like their own garage door openers.
Yeah, they were basically garage door openers. Yeah. So
this is just another one shot of those.
So that
rollers.
was the roller that they were. Yeah.
And right here's just the part where they're measuring it out, because even once it's flattened out again, it's going to go in an oven one more time.
Yeah, and be annealed.
Right
this
here.
is the annealer right here. And that's a process that takes
a couple of days, because
Several days.
that was a
Yeah.
that was a Wednesday, and he said it would be done on a Monday.
Yeah. So those will be annealed over the weekend. So it takes about 5 days. That process does.
There's the world's strongest magnet right there.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And right here, they're kind of, from what I understand, they were cleaning and getting everything ready to be used by the water jet here.
Yep. And this is where it gets very specific. So some customers order sheets. Some customers actually order blade blanks. And
here you'll see the blade blanks.
And these are the blade blanks that are ordered from different knife manufacturers. I don't know who that one was from specifically.
I can't remember exactly.
But these are blade blanks that are cut out of those sheets. Some manufacturers request whole sheets, and they cut the blade blanks out themselves.
And there's where they end up in their scrap, and then that scrap all gets
recycled back.
I'm pretty sure a lot of it gets sent right back to Crucible. Yeah. So, and then right here we were just interviewing with Bob Shabala, and the sound was awful, and I apologize for that. But go ahead and explain what he's kind of he's just really explaining the whole process here of everything that they do in a day.
Yeah. And so we were really talking here kind of to the point that we've already made about how many hands this process takes, how long it takes, and how intricate the process is, and how delicate the process is.
He's got right around between 30 and 40 people that work full time here, and that's how. And he says, every hand ends up touching.
Yeah, every hand that works for this company, between 30 and 40 people, ends up touching each piece of steel that comes through there.
And
it takes about, I want to say he said right now processing time.
6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah, somewhere around 6 to 8 weeks processing time from the time they get the order and get the slab in to when it's processed, when it's finished, and ready to be shipped out to the manufacturer. And again, with this process too, it's important to note that this stuff was not originally intended or originally made for the cutlery market. Now, there are some steels that they're like, hey, I wonder what would happen if you added this much molybdenum. And sometimes those conversations happen at a baseball game, which is really cool. Really interesting little factoid there. No names mentioned. But really cool how that comes about. And they're like, I wonder what would happen if you added this here and that there. And then they rename it, and it ends up becoming, a thing and a really cool new knife steel. But a majority of this stuff and this whole process was not originally intended for the cutlery market. And the cutlery market is a insanely small percentage.
A lot of this goes to more machines.
Yeah, it goes to big machinery, injection molded plastic machines, and the aerospace industry. And that's another thing that we were talking about with Bob here is the business that they do with aerospace and with the government, as far as some of the stuff that they do goes to fighter jets. I don't remember the specific manufacturer. We talked about that.
Boeing.
And Boeing is also one of them. But they make a lot of product that goes into the defense industry, as well as aerospace industry, as well as injection molded plastic machines and manufacturing, that kind of thing, because all those industries need the same qualities. They need something that's going to be extremely hard, extremely wear resistant, and extremely corrosion resistant. So they need the same things that the cutlery market is looking for, but I'm here to tell you they need a lot more of it. So the cutlery market really is a small portion and a small percentage. And so if you think about it from a business standpoint, what they do for the cutlery market it is very specialized and kind of difficult, to be honest with you. When you look at making something that specific for that small of a group of manufacturers, it makes the whole process even more difficult and take a longer period of time. So, again, we're looking at another few weeks and another number of people, and that's what business is all about. These people have mouths to feed; they have families.
Well, that was one thing too that was really interesting, and to kind of wrap this up was. They care about their product because at Niagara, each employee owns a piece of the company.
Yes.
And so the harder they work, the more money they earn.
Yeah.
The better quality stuff they put out, the more it ends up coming back to benefit them in the end. So that each individual person there cares just about as much about this product as the person receiving it.
Yeah,
so.
And that was another thing that we really were able to witness going there is just the care that it takes.
These guys were huge too.
They were massive. They don't have to go to a gym and work out because
these guys were massive.
They're tossing around 200-pound slabs of steel like it's nothing, and they take a lot of pride in what they do, and it was very nice to see and awe-inspiring. It really was.
But yeah, we just want to thank everybody that invited us out.
We want to thank Chris Nally for actually noticing our video on S35VN. Really thankful for that. John with Crucible, Bob with Crucible, you guys were fantastic, and your hospitality was phenomenal. And also, Bob Shabala, can't thank you enough for your hospitality and showing us around, showing us the process.
Buffalo's a beautiful place.
Buffalo's wonderful, and so is Syracuse. And we had an absolute blast, and it was a lot of fun. We're looking forward to seeing you guys again at Blade Show coming up very soon.
Very soon.
And we just want to thank you guys so much.
Make sure you get there early. I hear we're giving out some swag bags and
it's going to be
cool stuff.
It's going to be some really cool stuff. So be sure to join us at Blade Show. If you can't, stay tuned to the channel because we are going to be posting daily while we're there, pictures and video of our experience at Blade Show this year. So
maybe even going live. You know how much I love lives. All right, guys. That's it for us.
Thank you guys so much. Again, this has been TC, as always, with Isaac here at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And remember, if it cuts, we carry it. Hey, what's up?
Turtles.